So we're in the conservatory today, hence different surroundings and beer. But right, I've been thinking more about what was inside this transmission final drive case thing, and what looked like some sort of cover over the ring gear, it turns out is actually the back of the ring gear, because I've been watching some Noped Thursday YouTube videos. He's fantastic, by the way, if you're a QT50 person or interested in QT50s. He seems to be some kind of guru. And yeah, so the fact that's there, and the fact that there's a shaft for this axle to bolt onto, for the wheel to bolt onto, sorry, an axle shaft, means that the ring gear's in there, even though it's a bit loose. I'm going to do the bearings anyway, I think, but I hope that's not play on the shaft. Anyway, but the back wheel still spins. So I was thinking maybe the little gear that goes against the ring gear inside here is missing, which is probably equally as difficult to find one of. But I then rummaged around in the, I've got a lock-up garage, rummaged around in there, and I found this tray of QT50 bits, including this drive shaft. So hopefully in here the little gear is still sat in there, and when I do that, it's just turning the little gear and no drive shaft, because it definitely didn't feel like it was spinning the engine. So what I'm going to do today, I've got the back wheel to change anyway, so what I could do is undo that bolt, take the exhaust off, slide the wheel off. But since I've got to take the final drive off anyway, and all the bolts are loose for some reason, and finger tight, look, so I'm going to undo this bolt, which is also finger tight, and undo these bolts, and then whip this off and have a look and see if that other gear's there. So I'll do that. So over here we've got 1, 2, 3 12mm bolts, and another 12mm bolt for the shock absorber, and it should come off. I'm going to start with the shock one, since it's finger tight. Take a bit of weight off it. There we are. Now for these three. That's loose as well. Brilliant. Normally obviously there'd be a brake cable as well, but beyond that it would appear to be entirely held on by these loose bolts. That one's loose as well. I might replace the split washers on these as well, since it's all that's holding the back end on. Support the back end a bit to make it easier to unscrew. Incidentally, also in that box of bits was another one, and you probably can't see it, but if you look right down there you can see it spinning inside there. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to see with this one, and because I've undone it at this end you stand a chance of seeing it. But these are all loose as well, so I'll have to nip those up. There we are, so I can change the tyre on that now. Probably not today though. And bad times. Right, I'll whip the shaft cover thing off the other side, off the other final drive, and show you what the difference is. Okay, so I'm cheating slightly here because it's the next day, because I lost some footage, so I'm having to reshoot this bit. So ignore the fact that there's brakes on this now. Basically, if you look in there, turn the light on. If you look in there, you can see the end of the little cog thing where the drive shaft goes, and if I turn the spindle, you can see it turning around. You can see the bearing in there. That would be on this one here, where this yawning great chasm is. you can see the ring gear inside there, but no, obviously there's nothing for it to mesh against. And because it's the next day, I've now taken this cover off, so you can pull the ring gear out. That's what they look like. And if you're changing the ring gear bearings, firstly watch out for this little space so you don't want to lose it. But that's where your ring gear bearings are, or your rear wheel bearings. The ones on that seem alright, so I'm keeping them, I think. But there's the bearing. Can I read what it says? NGK something. No. Okay, so it's written on the actual bearing itself. Let's have a look. That's a Kyo one. 6202 RS. There you go. Don't know if you can read it, but I can. 6202 RS. So two of those. If you, like me, look for bearings on eBay, quite often it just says compatible with this bike. It doesn't tell you what sort of bearings they are. That way they can charge more. So there we are, 6202 RS. Anyway, it's now tomorrow and we're outside. Right, so I think it's probably time to change this tyre. So before that, I'm going to take the transmission final drive off the wheel. So for that, I will need a 19mm socket. Going to be more difficult than I thought, because obviously it's turning the transmission around in there. Should have thought of this, shouldn't I? Right, okay. Bear with. Right, let's try with this. Hopefully, I can grip the back side of the shaft with that enough to be able to turn it. I don't hold out a great deal of hope though. Oh, okay, it's doing it. Excellent. Luckily it wasn't that tight. Right, good. Now, that's only held in by the wheel bearings, but it's going to take a bit of getting out, I think. So what I'm going to do is, with completely the wrong hammer, bash it out. Hey! Lovely. So, this is the ring gear for your final drive. If you go to install a PW50 one from a kid's dirt bike, you'll get higher top speed because they're geared for a smaller rear wheel. So that explains that, because I was wondering about that in one of the previous videos. But also the axle shaft is longer to account for the wider wheels, so you have to put it in a press that way up and push the shaft that way to get it out. It won't come off there because that's a capped end, and then push this back in, the QT50 one, into the PW50 ring gear, and then change the cog thing that goes on the end of the drive shaft. So this is not currently required, but you can see the setup in there, look, with the bearings. Two bearings in there, and then I don't know if you can see in here, there's like a little collar there. You can see I'm moving it up and down. There'd be a bearing either side of that as well, held captive by this, and in between, you know, down the middle of those bearings would be the little driven sprocket thing, but unfortunately we don't have that, so I'll just jam this back together for now. And we can get on with changing the tyre. This is my wheels kit. I think you saw it briefly in another video. Up here we're going to need the tyre lube brush. These are fantastic, Motion Pro. I saw Travis' tutorial using them and thought I'd get the ones he had, and they're great. Mainly because that is so thin, you can really get it round the edge of your tyre bead on your wheel without knackering it, on the rim I mean, without ruining it. So 2 of those. And then we're going to change the tyre. Oh, I'll tell you what else we'll need. Valve remover. Tell you what, we're going to cheat. The good thing about King's Tyre inner tubes is that on the back of the cap is a valve remover, and it fits in between your spokes just fine, thank you very much. Right, so you put a bit of pressure on this bead because you want it to go, you see this raised ridge all the way around here, that's a well on the inside, which I'll show you in a minute. So you get the bead so it's in line with that, and then the whole bead can go further that way to get it over this rim. You see it? Is it a shot? Yes it is, excellent. Get 2 in, pop it over, lovely stuff. I'm not sure if this tyre is any good. I might be able to keep it and save it for the white bike, save myself some money on tyres. It's about 35 quid for a tyre and tube, so I might as well. Get in there. It is sometimes handy to use 3 levers, stop it popping back in so much. There we go, we've killed it now. That's not going back on anymore because there's too much of it off. It half off. Get one under there. And trying to get the hooked end under, facing downwards and over the rim bead, and it can slide it along and do it again and keep going until it pops off. Okay, that's the tyres off. I sped it up a bit because well, it was taking too long. The rim tape's no good, so I'm just going to wrap some black insulation tape around. Does the same job basically, if you can get it to stick on, that is. For anyone that doesn't know, the point of rim tape is to stop the spokes damaging your inner tube. These spoke nipples, I guess, can get like sharp, I don't know. Never happened to me, but you're supposed to put it on, so I'll put it on. That was good. Just had enough left on the roll. Right. New tyre. Plenty of tyre lube on. Really goes to town with it. I don't know what this tyre lube is, it's not very good. At work we use sort of soap based stuff, which is a lot better. But you want to get it all around the edge, both sides, and a little bit, make sure you get a little bit on the inside edges as well. You don't want loads of it in here because it will rust your rims, but a little bit just to help it slide over the rim always helps. Okay, so inner tube, need to inflate it just enough to hold its shape. Take one of these nuts off. It's like a nut sandwich. You need to leave one on the inside and one on the outside of the rim. I always used to take them both off. I thought one was a spare when I first started doing this. It isn't a spare. Right, so we're going to pump in enough air for it to hold its shape. Don't leave that bit. There we go. In the tyre. Try and avoid twisting it if you can. Right, that is in. So now we need to line up the hole, which is there. Shove the valve through, which involves breaking the tape in this instance, but normally wouldn't if you were using rim tape. There we go. And what do I do with the nut? There it is. Put the nut on to keep it where it's supposed to be. Stop the tube wandering around. Right. So put your foot on where the valve is. Maybe get it in a bit more then. And start working it on. Obviously the trick to this game is not pinching the inner tube, because then it'll leak. But I find doing both at once, you tend to avoid that. If you get as far as you can with both beads at once and let some air out, easier said than done. You can generally get it almost all the way or entirely all the way, depending on what brand of tyres you're using. Some go on easier than others. So the last bit is a bit more difficult. Let's see if I can get it with this one. Might have to do one at a time on the last bit, I don't know. There we are, thread it through that way. There we go. One tyre. Let's bolt in the new transmission. I'm working fast because we're running out of daylight, so I'll clean all the tyre lube off at a later date. So we'll just give this a quick clean up. I wasn't expecting to get this far today, otherwise I'd have already cleaned it. Right, okay. So brakes again. Oh, I could do with copper grease, can I? Hang on. Right, copper grease. Do-do-do-do-do. Bit on there, bit on there, done. Same on this one. And shove the spring in, and then attach the old boys. I believe they go spring side down on here. 1 and 2. There we are. Seated, lovely. Then all I've got to do is scrape the brake lining off in there again like I did last time, and then I can fit the brakes. The brake lining takes a little bit of paint stripper in there for an hour or two, so I'll do that later on. I'll just show you how to do it. So this is the Wilco all-purpose paint stripper again. Shove my finger in. Around the inside, just about an inch, and leave it. Then in an hour's time, where the paint strip has been, we'll scrape off with a Stanley knife. So there's been paint stripper on this brake drum now for probably 4 or 5 hours, so I'm going to do a quick demonstration on how I get rid of it, just with the Stanley knife. Just run it around there like that. It's not coming off that well, so I'm going to put a bit more on, I think, and leave it a bit longer. But basically this wouldn't be possible with the powder coat if it wasn't covered in paint stripper. So I'm going to give it another application of this, do it again tomorrow, and when you see it, it will be done. So I've managed to remove this beast from the shed, finally. I had to move all of those bikes to get it out. but I've managed it. It was a hell of a squeeze as well, but this will be the good QT50. So there's not much of it right now, but I've got all the bits to make it decent-ish. It's going to be white with blue panel work on it, because that's what I've got. So let's have a quick look around and see what's missing. First of all, it has a front wheel in not that bad condition, which is quite nice. That's about all you can say for the whole bike, to be fair. It's got nice switch gear, but the cables have been cut off. So I'll be swapping that over onto the... In fact, I'll be swapping the whole handlebars over onto the black one, because somebody's lopped these off as well. Presumably, well, the story with this one was, it was bought by somebody, or found in the scrap by somebody, who also had a Tomos, and I went and bought the Tomos, and he said, do you want this for 50 quid? And I said, no. And he said, do you want it for 25 quid? I said, no, there's not left of it. And he says, well, my son's got a PW50. I pinched the engine and a load of stuff off this for his PW50. So you can have what's left for free if you want. I just want rid of it. I said, all right then. So I threw it in the car. I then went and collected the U50. So I had the Suzuki U50 and this. And in fact, I'll show you exactly which Tomos it was, because it's on the bench. This Disco. So I think that was 70 quid. The U50 my wife bought me, weirdly. I think that was 80 quid. And I got the Yamaha in with it. That's where the Yamaha was. Between that Camino and that Philips Gadabout on the shelf. Under here we've got loads of other stuff as well. I'll go left to right. We've got Peugeot Vogue, Gorelli, Velo Solex 330, Puch Mini Maxi, the... oh, is that a mouse or something? Somebody just made a noise over there. Jawa Type 05, and over there is a Simpson KR51 Schwalbe, for which I found some more parts. So anyway, that's what I've been doing today. Anyway, that's the story of how I got it. So it was free, and hopefully it'll prove to be some use. I think we can get it back on the road. It's got the twist grip and everything, which is nice. Here's the tank. It's not looking very promising, is it? Let's get the light on the phone and see if we can see inside it. Not terrible. Needs a clean out, but it's not terrible. I've got a spare one of those, which is good because it looks like that one's had some action. But yeah, all round, it looks like it could end up being fairly serviceable. Now, I have noticed between the three bikes, I've only got one exhaust. So I'm going to have to buy an exhaust. What I'll probably do is get an MLM one or modified Tomos one to go on the black bike and put this exhaust that I've just painted on this bike, probably. So this one's nice and original. The other one, since it's got the 60cc barrel, it might as well have a better exhaust. I'll get a bi-turbo or something for it. But beyond that, I've got enough to make two bikes, and I'm thinking, oh, also I'm missing a front brake cable for the other bike, for the black one, but I've got one on order. Ones that say that they're for QT50 are quite expensive, very expensive. So I've got one for a different bike. It's a Yamaha, and I'm gonna modify it to make it fit, I suppose. So it looks like this old girl, for now at least, isn't getting put back on the road. But taking three bikes and making two good ones, I don't think is that bad. So we'll see. Maybe I can get the bits for it, but the parts this one's missing. I've got a spare engine for it, so that's all right. It'd need the final drive because there's bits missing there. It would need plenty of other stuff, really. Exhaust. Yeah, I'll make a list and put it on the screen. That's the best specs. I can't think of it all now. Oh, it's missing the switch gear as well on this side. Front brake cable, drive shaft. Yeah, it'll all add up. So by the time I've taken the bits I need off it for the other one, there's not going to be a great deal left, I suppose. Might sell it on eBay, might keep it and see if I get another parts bike from somewhere and build another one out of the two. Might strip it down and sell parts off it, I don't know yet, but we'll see. I'm going to take the rear mudguard off it for the white bike and a few other bits. Yeah, I've got plenty of stuff I can be doing. In fact, I've got a spare mudguard, come to think of it. Sorry, I'm just rambling now. Bye.